Welcome to chapter 46 of the book of Genesis. The story of Joseph has pretty much come to an end. The miraculous change of being sold into slavery by his brothers into being second in command of a country, or the empire of Egypt. Now, the story of Joseph isn't just, as far as I'm concerned, about how God does his purpose to save the children of Israel from starvation and the famine, death and annihilation. But God has a purpose for our lives today. Many of us, as Joseph, are going through a tough time in health, war, famine, breakdown of the family, crime, or facing death in old age even. Things such as these. But as the wagon delivering the riches of Egypt came to Jacob to take him back to Egypt to deliver him from this famine, Jesus is delivering us. And this deliver means to save. It's delivering. Jesus is delivering us as the wagon. And he's delivering us not to Egypt, but to his heavenly home, paradise, or New Jerusalem, where we will be richer than we can imagine. Then I think others will see the glory of God and how God has bestowed upon us, the believers, his love and care, and that how he has taken us. We go through the rough time as Joseph did. A lot of bad things happen, but at the end, he was uplifted, and God did miracles. And I believe being in heaven is going to be something that when we were there, we look back on this life, and it was so fast that we're just going to be amazed of how God has done to us something greater than he did to Joseph. That's my take on the whole story of Joseph. It's not just about a man at that time who was transformed into an important person in Egypt, but it shows God's work in man in a way that only God can do it. Now, in chapter 1, let me go through a little in the Greek, and then we'll go through the video seminar. Paras de Israel, ke pata avtu, ilthan epi tofrir, to orku, ke ethise thesian to theo to patrosav to Isaac. And Israel, departing in all these people, he came upon the well of the oath. Let's go to a map here. And so it mentions here in Beersheba, he leaves in Beersheba, which is right here, about 150 miles to go over to Ramses, or this area of Goshen in Egypt. And well of the oath is Beersheba. And he sacrificed a sacrifice offering to the God of his father Isaac. And God said to Israel in a vision of night, saying, Yaakov, Yaakov. And he said, what is it? Well, this isn't the first time God has spoken to Yaakov. At first, he appeared, talked to him, I believe, 8 times. This is the 8th time. In chapter 28:11, Jacob, as he's fleeing from Esau, sees the stairway to heaven. I believe God talks to him there. And then in 28:3, the Lord speaks to Jacob at Bethel, and that would be actually earlier than the stairway to heaven. And then in 31:3, the Lord tells Jacob to return to his fatherland after going through the process of fleeing up to Laban and Haran, and then having 4 wives and many children. And then in 31:13, God reaffirms this, and God tells Jacob to go forth to the land of his birth. Then, in 32, 1 and 2, as he is returning, Jacob sees the camp of God at camps in Greek, English really, camps, Mahanaim in Hebrew. And then in 32, 22, as he's going back to his homeland, he ends up wrestling with God at the Jabbok River, and he's renamed Israel. Then, the last time before this one, in 35:1, God directs him to leave Shechem and build an altar at Bethel. So now, if he was in Bethel and then went down to Beersheba, I'm not quite sure. But then it continues here, and he said, "What is it?" And he says to him, "I am the God of your fathers. Do not fear to go down into Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. And I will go down with you into Egypt, and I will transport you to the end." As this is Jesus. "And Joseph will put his hands upon your eyes," and you can change it Joseph to Jesus for us. "And Jacob rose up from the well of the oath, Beersheba, and the sons of Israel took up Jacob their father, put him on a wagon, and the belongings, and their wives, upon the wagons which Joseph sent to carry him. And taking up their possessions and all the property which they acquired in the land of Canaan, they entered into Egypt, Jacob and all his seed with him, sons and sons of his sons with him, daughters and daughters of his daughters, grandchildren, and all his seed he led into Egypt." And the story will continue a little, but first now we're going to the genealogy. "And these are the names of the sons of Israel entering into Egypt together with Jacob their father. Jacob and his sons, the firstborn of Jacob, Reuben, and the sons of Reuben, Enoch, Phalu, Azron, and Harmi. And the sons of Simeon, Eamuel, and Eamin, and Lod, Achin, Saar, Saul, son of the Canaanites. And the sons of Levi, Gerson, and Kaath, and Merari. And the sons of Judah, and Avnan, and Selon, and Pharez, is in the line of Jesus, Judah, and then Pharez, and Zerah. And and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And that goes into the story of Tamar, which we went earlier. And the sons born of Pharez, Hezron, and Imuel. And Pharez, and I think in Jesus' line was Hezron, but I'm not sure. I have to look it up in Genesis, which I didn't do. And the sons of Issachar, Tholah, and Phuah, and Asum, and Samvran. Now, I don't know where this Job comes from, but Asum in the Greek. And the sons of Zabulon, Sared, and Alon, and Ahoil. These are the sons of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob in Mesopotamia of Syria, his first wife, and Dinah, his daughter. All the souls, sons and daughters, 33. And the sons of Gad, Saphon, and Agis, and Savnis, and Thasovan, and Aithis, and Erithis, and Aroelis. And the sons of Asir, Imnah, Esua, and Eul, and Variah, and Sarah, their sister. And the sons of Variah, Hovor, and Cheel. These are the sons of Zilpah, the maidservant whom Laban gave to his daughter Leah, to Leah's daughter, who bore these to Jacob, 16 souls. And the sons of Rachel, the wife of Jacob, who he wanted to marry first, but Laban tricked him, Yosef and Benjamin. And the sons of Yosef, born in the land of Egypt, whom Aseneth bore to him, the daughter of Potiphri, the priest of Heliopolis, Manasseh and Ephraim. And were born the sons of Manasseh, whom Surah, the concubine, bore to him, Machir. So he had also apparently a concubine. And Machir procreated Galaad. And the sons of Ephraim, brother of Manasseh, Sutalam and Tom. And the sons of Sutalam, Edhem. And the sons of Benjamin, Vala and Vohor, Asvi, Gira, and Noeman, and Achis, Ros, and Maphin, and Ophimin, Gira, and Gira procreated Arad. These are the sons of Rachel, whom she bore to Jacob, all the souls 18. And these are grandchildren and so forth. And the sons of Dan, Asom, and the sons of Nephthalim, Asiel, and Goini, and Issachar, and Selim. These are the sons of Valas, Bilhah, whom Laban gave to Rachel, his daughter, who bore these to Jacob. That was her maidservant, all the souls 7. And all the souls entering with Jacob into Egypt, coming forth from out of his thighs, separate from the wives of Jacob's sons, all souls 66. And the sons of Joseph being born to him in the land of Egypt, 9 souls. And all the souls of the house of Jacob, the ones entering with Jacob into Egypt, 75 souls. Now here we have an issue with the number 75. In the Hebrew, it's 70, and the King James takes the Hebrew Old Testament 70. But in the Septuagint, in Exodus 1:5, it says 75. Here it's 75. Deuteronomy 10:22, it says 70, but then the Aldine adds K Pente and 5. So if you took the Aldine Septuagint, Old Testament, it would be 75. And then in Acts 7:14, Stephen says 75. And it continues in verse 28. And he sent Judah in front of him to Joseph, that is, Jacob sent Judah, his son, in front of him to Joseph to meet him near Hierapolis in the land of Ramesses. Now, the land of Ramses is interesting. We'll go to the net, and they shows Ramses here and Goshen, really close to it. And this is where the children of Israel, sons of Israel, all end up. And Ramses is interesting because it's the name of a king, a pharaoh's, much later, 400 years, I believe, later, where it was Ramses 1 and 2. So the land of Ramses. Now, people have been named after the land. We have Africanus, Julius Africanus, and other people that have been named after land. And so Ramses could have been named after that place, the Ramses, the first and second of pharaohs. And then in 29 it continues, and Joseph teaming up his chariots, plural, so he must have had a lot, coming with like an army, ascended to meet Israel, his father, at Hierapolis. And seeing him, he fell upon his neck and wept, weeping greatly. Now, it could be seeing him, Joseph seeing Jacob, or Jacob seeing Joseph. But it says in Israel, or Jacob said to Joseph, so I'm thinking it was Jacob seeing him fell upon his neck and wept greatly. And Israel said to Joseph, I will gladly die from now on, since I have seen your face, for still you live. And Joseph said to his brothers, in ascending, I will report to Pharaoh. Now that story changes, they're probably back into the country of Ramses. And now Joseph is going to give them instructions on how to deal with Pharaoh. And he says, in ascending, I will report to Pharaoh and will say to him, my brothers and the house of my father, who are in the land of Canaan, have come to me. And the men are shepherds, for they were men grazing cattle, and the cattle and the oxen and all their things they have brought. If then Pharaoh should call you, and he should say, what is your work? You shall say, your servants are men grazing cattle from childhood until the present, even we and our fathers. That you should dwell in the land of Gesem Aravias, Goshen of Arabia. For every shepherd of flocks is an abomination to the Egyptians. Now, people have tried to figure this out, what the abomination was. Some people think that the shepherds, they were dealing with animals, and the Egyptians were more vegetarians. It's a possibility, I suppose, because they were growing all sorts of crops, and maybe they didn't have animals around there. But living in the land of Gesem Aravias, and we'll go back up to our map, and we see here on the map it has Goshen of Aravias. Now, Arabia is all this area over here. So now I don't think they're going to go over that far. They're going to stay in Egypt. But the idea of Arabia definitely puts it on the eastern side of Egypt and not into the Sinai yet, because they cross over the Red Sea and the river here later on in the book of Exodus. So Jacob is now in the land of Goshen. In chapter 47, it tells us what all occurs with Jacob in the land of Goshen or Gesem. I hope you join us in the next video seminar. Find out what happens with Jacob. Until then, God bless.